There's going to have to be a fucking part 2 because for some reason the thing just stopped filming and went to... they spell Strait of Magellan. They misspell straight, like they lifted that out of somebody's written account. And the Cape of Good Hope 60 years before Diaz and nearly 100 years before Magellan set sail. Until it appeared, most European maps of the world had Jerusalem as their center, their edges patrolled by wild beasts. This new knowledge of the world, hard won by the Chinese during their great voyages of exploration, was to become the driving force behind the European voyages of discovery. So, I marked that paragraph because 2-3 times in the book there, he writes about maps that are written 100 years before Magellan sailed with the Strait of Magellan marked. He never explains, did somebody go erase what they called it in the first place and change it to Straits of Magellan, 200 years later? He never explains what happened there. Are these maps forgeries? What the fuck? Page 399, second paragraph. Bear with me there. I'll find it eventually. This is going to be about Marco Polo. The Pope had appointed Prince Henry Grand Master of the Order of Christ in 1420, and its Red Cross motif adorned the sails of his caravels. Funded by tax revenues, the order's principal duties were to defend Portugal and to lead... Where the hell am I? And to lead crusades against the infidel. Both Niccolo di Conti and Marco Polo had described a series of Christian states extending all across India. That's why I marked this paragraph, because Marco Polo, historians no longer look at Marco Polo's written accounts as being something that's true. And what tipped them off, and I've never read Marco Polo's adventures, but once I found out that Marco Polo had described the city of Prastor John, I knew he was just full of shit. So there's no telling what he did and what he didn't do. Prastor John was like a medieval conspiracy theory, and it was a conspiracy theory that at that time the people needed, because the Christian people needed, because at that time the Turks were, they were getting to their high tide, and they were threatening Vienna, and they were about to take Constantinople, and they were nibbling away at Europe, and the people were like, what the fuck, why can't we do something about this? And then the rumors about Prastor John started, where he lived in this crystal palace and had this immense city with these immense Christian armies, and everyone was like, oh, Prastor John will save us. Second paragraph, page 441. And Marco Polo writes like he visited Prastor John. Prastor John did not exist. 441. I fucking went way past it. Getting close. Another thing irritating about this book is the page numbers are super small. And if you're reading in dark, and you can just barely make out the words, you try looking down to see what page you're on, you can't tell. Second paragraph, page 441, I've had enough. And I also should read CE. This is written in 2002. He should not be using BC and AD. Historians don't use that anymore. They use BCE and CE because I don't speak Latin. I don't want some bullshit Latin in there, and neither does the rest of the world. So they don't use that anymore. BCE means before Common Era, and CE means Common Era. It's simple. Second paragraph. The depth of Chinese culture is as awesome as its width. 3,000 years ago, the Chinese had mastered bronze molding and casting with simple yet stunning designs. By the Qin dynasty, pottery was being cast as sublime as anything our planet has seen, epitomized by the graceful horses and fluid soldiers of Emperor Qin's terracotta army. By the Tang dynasty, AD 618 to 907, that should read CE, at a time when our European ancestors were clothed in rags. That's why I wrote, I've had enough. This guy obviously has got a thing for the Chinese. Every 2-3 pages he's praising them for something, and he's saying how the Europeans were living in caves. We were not dressed in rags in 618 CE to 907 CE. The Roman Empire, the Western Roman Empire had just ended. The Goths were running Spain. They had courts. They had all kinds of systems. They weren't clothed in rags. I don't know why he felt the need to say